Well, it's everyone's Matt Morozic, and this will be the last work in progress on the Aquaman. This is going to cover the base. I'm going to switch my camera settings here a little bit real quick. So I took everything off the base, and I wanted to weigh it because someone was arguing with me with the size of this thing. The base alone weighs 67 pounds. So this thing's huge. So it's well over 100 pounds. The base alone is 67. I would easily say this is a 120-pound piece by the time you get everything on there, so it's big. I've got a table set up in my garage. I've got a space heater going on in there right now to warm up the garage because it's a little chilly outside. It's not too cold, it's about 45, but I want the garage to be in the at least the 60s, 60 to 70 degree range to paint. So I'm going to take this downstairs. Hopefully nothing happens to it as I move it, and it will never come back upstairs once it's downstairs. So today's goal is to get my paint area set up, clean the base. Normally I would wash this with soap and water, but like I said, it's pretty chilly outside. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you a product I've used in the past for degreasing paint on like cars and stuff. So I'll wipe it down with that and with some lacquer thinner, and with that this should clean the piece pretty well. Now there's two areas. The paint on this is going to have to happen over several days because the first thing I've got to do is I've got to paint the water and then clear coat that and get that really nice and shiny, and that's got to cure for at least a day. After that's done, then I have to mask off where there's rocks, and there's rocks right here where Aquaman is standing. There's some rocks jutting up around him, and I believe there's some on the back side too. So I've got to get the water painted and clear coated first. Hopefully I can get that done in one day, and then I can cure for at least 12 to 20 hours before I mask. So I want the paint to be really, really cured before I start throwing masking tape on it. Otherwise, I will leave track marks in the tape if it's not fully cured. So yeah, the base weighs 68 pounds, 67 pounds. It's crazy huge. All clear resin. I would love to see the mold for this. It looks like it was done in one piece and not several pieces and then put together because I don't see any seam lines on it or anything. I never showed this with everything off, but you can see the big magnets that hold all the pieces on. So this is for the seahorse, this is for the swordfish, this is for the whale. There's a magnet in here for the crab, and there's magnets for the shark. Where there are no magnets are for Aquaman's foot and the Leviathan. They don't need it. And actually, you really don't even need magnets for the swordfish or the crab. They will stand there just fine by themselves, but they added them, which is a nice touch. So yeah, I'm gonna get it set up. Once the room is warm enough, I've got to get an air compressor down there. So this is a big ordeal to kind of move my paint area downstairs. And then I got to check that my paint supply, see if I have the colors I need, because this is going to take quite a bit of paint. I'm going to go for kind of a brighter blue, I think, than what the factory did. And then we'll do some like white on the tips of the waves here and stuff. So I'm going to look up some reference photos and then go with that. So next time I'm on camera, hopefully I'll be ready to paint. Okay, so I got the base downstairs. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would. So I've got it set up on a table. I've got it on a turntable. And underneath the base I've got a 2x6 to span the width of the base because there's hollow cavities underneath. So it's not a flat bottom, so I can rotate it and everything. I'm going to be using my my Porter Cable Shop air compressor. So what I'll probably do is when I'm spraying paint, I'll probably just do a voiceover because it's really, really loud. It's like your normal shop compressor, so it's crazy loud. And you won't be able to hear me talking anyway if it kicks on. So I brought down the supplies I have right now. I think I need to go to the hobby store, and get some more clear blue because I don't have much clear blue. But the first thing I'm going to do while the room's still heating up, I have a little space heater over here trying to get this room a little bit warmer. I can tell it's warmer already. I brought down one of my Iwata HPT airbrushes. This will be to do the overall spraying of everything because it's such a big piece. This is like a little mini HVLP gun. And then I have my Iwata HPC Plus. It's over there. I've got it clamped to the table because I don't have an airbrush holder down here. And I'll use that to go in and do the shading and stuff. But what I can do while I'm waiting for the room to heat up is I can wipe this base down. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some of these, I buy these from my automotive paint store, paint supply store. They're shop rags, they're cloth shop rags. I remember in the day when I used to paint cars, you could find lint-free like towels. I haven't been able to find any of those because you don't want lint on everything. So first I'm going to do is, since I can't go outside and really wash this with soap and water, I'm going to just take some lacquer thinner on one of these rags. I'm going to wipe it down, and I'm going to make sure I get in all the nooks and crannies, because there's a lot of dust on this, and also there could be mold release from the factory. So I want to make sure I wipe this down really, really well. And I might even some areas just kind of pour it in there, just so I make sure I get thinner down in all the little cracks, and then soak it up. Now, lacquer thinner and resin, you got to be careful. I'm not so worried on this clear resin because it's not like porous, but on normal resin, if you leave it in lacquer too long, it will absorb it will absorb the lacquer thinner, and it'll soften. I learned that the very hard way years ago when I was trying to do one of my first resin kits. I was having some paint adhesion issues, and I soaked the kit in lacquer thinner, and I went out to run some errands. By the time I came back, I had rubbery resin. I had to throw the whole kit away. It was like a $300 kit. So that was back in my Gundam days when I did nothing but Gundams. But there's a lot of little nooks and crannies in here. I'll probably go get some Q-tips too. I should have brought some of those down. But right now my main goal is to just get as much of the dust and everything off of this piece first with lacquer thinner, because it's a little more, I mean, it is harsh, but this will get rid of any grease, you know, or fingerprints and stuff. And I have one more step I'm going to do after I do the lacquer thinner. So this is my first step. You can see right there, that brown, that's from the base. It's just dirt. I mean, it's been sitting up in my studio for a few months, and it's got dusty from the painting and just, you know, normal house dust. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to blow it down really well with my air compressor. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go back over with, this is just a brand. It's an Advantage 190 wax and grease remover. So this would be like your very last wipe down if you're going to paint a car or something. It's exactly what it says it is. It's a wax grease remover. I'm going to do that too. It may be a little overkill, even though I've already done the lacquer thinner. But this thing really needs to have really, really good paint adhesion, because you got to be able to, you know, take the pieces in and out of this without the paint coming off. So that's the first step, is to clean the base really well. I'm going to go out and get some more clear paint. Hopefully my hobby store has some. It's been really hard to get paint these days, just with COVID and everything. Stores aren't getting their shipments. They're having a hard time getting stuff from their suppliers. So it'll take me a good amount of time to get this base just wiped it down, to make sure I've got it really, really as clean as I can get it. You know, it's hard to keep dust out of your paint as it is. I'm in the garage, so I've got a sign on the doors like, do not open the garage door, because I've got it warming up in here, and I don't want to lose all the warm air that I've built up. And I don't want, I want as little dust as possible get stirred up in the air and get on this. There's inevitably there'll be some dust in it. There's just no way of avoiding it, but to get as little as possible is always the goal. One thing you can do, and I used to do this when I painted cars, when we didn't have a spray booth, is you can hose down the floor with water, just get the floor wet, and what that does is it just keeps dust from getting kicked up from you walking around and everything. So it just traps the dust on the floor. But there's a ton. I really haven't looked at this base too close until just now, and there are a ton of little nooks and crannies and the waves and stuff. So lots of detail that I really didn't notice until just now, because I really haven't looked at it, and I was so concentrating on the creatures in Aquaman that I didn't really have time to appreciate this base. But it's really a really pretty piece. Yeah, so I'm going to wipe it down with lacquer thinner, and then I'll wipe it down with the degreaser, and I'm also going to get a tack cloth. I'm going to use a tack cloth again, so I'll just keep wiping it down and try to clean it as best as possible before I start shooting paint. So when I come back, hopefully it's warm in here, I've got enough paint, and we can start shooting some color on this thing. So I'll be back in a little while. Okay, I wanted to show you what I decided to do. So I was upstairs getting some lacquer thinner, and I forgot I had these little brushes. These are like little brushes that you use for cleaning your spray guns. And these are perfect for getting down in these little nooks and crannies. And I also just got a chip brush, and I'm putting this in my lacquer thinner, and I'm scrubbing the base, and the bristles get down in all the little nooks and crannies. That way I can make sure I get every part of this clean. So you can see when I put the lacquer thinner, it clears up. So even though it looks dull at first, once you start putting the clear on this, it's going to shine up really nice and look crystal clear. So that's kind of a cool thing about clear resin, is that the factory's gone in and done the cleanup and stuff, but they didn't polish it to a crystal finish. You don't need to do that if you're going to clear coat it, because a clear coat fills in all the little imperfections and shines everything up really nice. So even though it looks dull at first and kind of cloudy, that will all get cleared up as we add paint, and then the final clear coat will fill in, because I'm using automotive clear coat, will fill in all the little micro scratches and abrasions and everything just from the molding and demolding process and the cleanup process. So yeah, so and the thinner's drying pretty instantaneously. So like I said, I'm not worried about it sitting on here too long and causing any problems. Once I go over a spot, it dries pretty much right away. So I'll do the same process with the degreaser with a brush and these bristles to get in and all these little nooks and crannies and make sure everything is cleaned as well as possible. So my goal today is to get the water painted. I anticipate that'll take the better part of the day, because there's a lot of detail. So I gotta do the blue first, and then I'll go in and paint the white caps, and I'll use the factory paint as a guide. I'm gonna kind of replicate what they did. I'm just gonna use different colors. From the photos I've seen, the water they have is kind of gray. It's not really blue, and this is based off roughly based off some comic art where the colors are really vibrant. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do you can tell the difference between where I clean over here and where I haven't cleaned. So for instance, hopefully it's showing up. Maybe not too zoomed out. Zoom in. So I don't know if it's showing up in camera, but so this area, like from here over, has been cleaned and this hasn't. You can tell the difference. But I don't want to do splash lacquer thinner on my camera, that'd be bad. So yeah, so I'm just doing this with the chip brush and the other brush to get down in all the nooks and crannies to clean this as best as possible. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that because as I was wiping down, there's got to be a better way to get down all these little crevices. I thought Q-tips would be good, but then I remembered I had all these kind of crappy brushes to do that, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm ready to paint. So I got everything wiped down really well. Walls is going to get wiped down. Looks good. I also have my clear blue mixed up, so I went back to the hobby store to get some more. Luckily they had some. So I had this before, Mr. Color number 50, in my stash. I had 2 bottles of that. So I went back to go get more, and it's the same number, Mr. Color number 50. The interesting thing is that this is an older bottle, and it's got some green in it, so I wonder if they changed the color. But I actually like it. So I've got 3 bottles of the newer Mr. Color number 50 plus 2 bottles of the older number 50, so it should give me a little bit of an aqua tint to it. I also have some clear green over here. I may spray on some areas to give it more of an aqua look rather than just straight up blue. So I'm going to put on my gloves. I got my respirator here. The room's nice and, it's not toasty warm, but it's a nice ambient room temperature. I'd probably guess it's 65 to 70 degrees in here. It's perfect for spraying paint. I'm going to put these to the side. I'm going to put my other airbrush to the side for doing shading. And we're going to load up the HTH gun with the paint. Now I only have so much of this, so I've got this set. I've got my trigger set, so only a certain amount of paint comes out. So I'm going to try to put this on lightly and put it on, not sparingly, but enough to cover. I'm going to put my other mixed paint to the side so I don't knock it over. And I'll start painting on camera. If the compressor kicks on, which it might, I'll stop. That way it's going to be really loud if it kicks on. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start from the bottom. I got this at the edge of the table because there is a slight lip and I won't be able to get paint under there. So we're going to start from here and we're just going to start laying this on. Now it's going to be a while before you see any blue. Probably maybe 2 coats. And I'm going to put my respirator on because there's no airflow in here and I'm going to have a lot of overspray. So I'm going to put my respirator on. And I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, making sure I get in all the nooks and crannies. So I want to get this bottom lip sprayed first and then work my way up. Actually, you can see it's starting to, it's got some blue in it already. I've got my needle turned in pretty tight, so I don't want to waste the paint. I want more paint to go on the surface than in the air. So by limiting the amount of paint coming out of the airbrush, you can make sure you get more paint on your surface than spraying out in the middle of the air. So as you can see, it's starting to turn blue there already. I think you can. Maybe not, because I'm not in frame. I sound like Darth Vader because of this respirator. But you can see there it's got a slight blue tint already. So I want to get this bottom lip kind of done first. And then I'll start going up the sides. I'm doing like the first 3 to 4 inches on the bottom. Make sure I get paint there. And then getting all these little nooks and crannies. All these little tips like these, those little white caps, those will get sprayed with white later on after I get the blue the way I want. And then I'll probably go back and blend it back in with some more blue. But my first goal is to get the water blue. I'm not worried about putting this on real slick right now because when I do the final clear coat, the automotive clear coat, that's where I'll get the gloss from. So this doesn't have to go on super wet to get the shine. We'll get that with the final top coat of automotive clear. So I'm going to continue doing this up the whole base, get the first coat on, and then we'll take a look at it when I'm done with the first coat. No reason for you to watch me spray paint for 45 minutes. Alright, so there's the first coat. It took a lot of paint. Hopefully I have enough. I might have to go back to the hobby store again and just clear them out of this, but it looks good. So we're going to do the same thing, put a second coat on. And build it up a little bit more. Again, starting from here and working my way up. You'll notice where you can see through the resin, it's bluer because you have blue on this side and blue on that side. We can only see one direction, it doesn't look quite as blue. You can see I didn't bother spraying the rocks, that's just a waste of paint, so I didn't spray those with this color. So I'm just going to do this. I'll do the second coat, and we'll take a look at it when I get back. Okay, so I got 2 coats on there, and I was worried I was going to run out of paint. So I mixed up the rest of my blue, and I have some of this dye from Angel Gilding from when I was experimenting with chrome plating, and this is violet. So it's purple, but it's like I added some of this to my mix, and I think it's going to make my paint last longer. So we're going to give this a shot. It should deepen the blue a little bit. Hopefully it's not too purple, we'll see. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on real quick and see what this looks like. So this is the 3rd coat. I opened up my gun just a little bit, and I think that's going to look nice. I'd like to get a 4th coat on this. I want this to be a really deep color. So that's looking pretty good, I think. It's going to be a nice deep blue. So I'm going to do this, and then we'll take a look at it when I'm done. That's adding a nice deep hue to it. Alright, here we are after that last coat. That's coat number 3. It's looking pretty good. I'd like to get 1 more, if not 2 more overall, and then I'll go in and do some shading. There's a ton. I turned off my space heater because I'm not sure you can see it, but you can see all the overspray in the air. Yeah, so I really need to put my mask back on because it's pretty crazy, but it's looking good. Yeah, so we're going to do another coat and then we'll come back and look at it. Okay, so here we are after about 5 coats of clear blue. It's looking good. So I'm going to stop here on this. I had to open the garage door and let the overspray out. It was so foggy in here, so I'm going to turn my heater back on and warm the room back up. Let this dry for about an hour or so. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and start hitting the white caps where the white goes. And then after that, I'll start blending that in with some shading and stuff. So I was going to go in and do some shading in the blue right now, but I'm going to wait until I get the white caps done. That way I can fade the blue into the white, and hopefully it'll blend together. So yeah, this is looking good. I may go over this with, if I have any clear green, I may mist a little clear green over just to shift the color a little bit. But it's a nice deep blue. I'm digging it, so it's very vibrant. So after this dries, we'll do some painting on the white caps. Okay, so this is dried for a little bit. I only let it dry for about 30 minutes. Turn my heater back on, got the room warm again. So initially I was planning on doing, going in with white, with Mr. Color White, but I changed my mind. Looking at kind of some of the photos from the production paint, their blue is actually really light, or very pale aqua. Which looks good, but when there's nothing, if it's not lit up, it looks gray. So that's why I went with like a deep blue, because I wanted it to look like water. If you decide not to light it from underneath. Now, if my client decides to put a light underneath it from below, it should be a really nice pale blue from the bottom going up. So I'm going to do a little bit of this on camera. I was trying to look for some photos of the production painted piece, and I've only found like 2 or 3 of the front. And it's pretty interesting where they added white. Pretty much like the tops of these areas, a lot of that gets covered up. What I can't find is a picture of the back of the vase, so I'm going to have to kind of just use some artistic license. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the GarageKits.us Cool Gray set. The same colors I used on the bottom of the Leviathan. So first I was going to go straight to the number 1, which is almost pure white, but I think I'm going to start with number 2, which is a step down. And we're going to do a little bit of this on camera, not a whole lot. And I'm going to turn my needle in quite a bit. I'm going to turn my air pressure down. these big shop air compressors don't have as fine of tunability as your little hobby compressors do. Like, meaning it's really hard to get like a really low PSI without having another what do you call it, like a air gauge on it. I just have the one that was installed with it. So I'm going to use the production paint kind of as a go-by as far as where to place these kind of highlights. And let me show you a picture of a production painted piece. I've got two. This is one. So you can see there that the base is actually mostly gray and white, which I'm not a fan of. Here's one from Mr. X. Again, this maybe let me 1 second. Let me adjust my exposure so you can see it better. So that's Mr. X's piece that he got. And again, you can see the base is pretty much gray. Again, I'm trying to show you off a cell phone. And now I did find another one, which is the look I'm going for. But he's got his lit from behind. So I want mine to look like this without a light on. Because just, you know, I want it to look blue. So I think I'm going to use the photo from Nissan as a guide where to place some of these highlights. And I'm going to start here on the front where the shark goes. And hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Again, I'm going to use this. I got to do this on my knees. So like the first one is going to be this little guy right here. This little, let me come over to this side because I'm right-handed. Maybe I'll be able to see better. Sorry. If I could hire a cameraman, I could hire someone to kind of follow me around when I paint. So I got my air pressure down, and I've got my needle turned in a little bit. So I'm going to paint this kind of like this whole spot. I'm going to fade it down into the blue, and then I'll come back with a brighter highlight just at the top of it. Hopefully you guys are seeing that okay. I'm not sure if it's in focus. I'm going to come down the side here a little bit. Like that. I'm going to hit this little curly Q here. Sorry about that, my compressor kicked on and it's really loud. So, so what I did is I kind of hit the top of the spring down and hit this curly Q, came down the side. I'm going to hit this little spot here. Basically the edges where, you know, where white cap a little bit. And anywhere I wanted to fade to the blue, I just kind of spray in that direction. Just like that. Right here, there's a little wave, so I'm going to hit the bottom side too. So it doesn't look like a mistake. Again, always kind of spraying the direction that you want the fade to go. Kind of like that. Over here. Again, this is probably hard for you guys to see me, but I'll try to show a little bit. But it's the same process over and over again. And so this is kind of a big wave, so I'm going to fade it back in there a little bit. Like that. Not sure if you saw that, but that's how you do it. I'm going to come down here, there's a little curly Q, so I'm going to hit that. And then what I'll do is I'll come back with some blue again and just kind of hit the shadows and blend it. I got just enough clear blue left to do that, to do the blending on this part. I just about ran out putting the base coat down, and this thing is just so big. I think you get the idea. I'm just going to go in here and hit all these high spots. I don't think this will take too long. And like here, the light's not the best out here, but that's kind of the idea. So I'm going to go around and do that on everything, and I'll come back and show you when I'm done. So I wanted to show you something. The sculpt has a ton of detail that I didn't realize was there. So let me see, get my exposure up a little bit. 1 second. I'm going to change my ISO. And so as I'm going through and picking out these little waves and stuff, it's really some pretty cool detail in this thing. So like I got this little curlicue here, but it kind of goes in it. It connects to all these other little waves. So it's like you come in here and you follow that little curlicue, and that comes down to here. There's a lot of motion in this base and the sculpt. And so I hit that, and then this comes up to here and connects into that. So it's kind of really interesting, the amount of detail that is in this sculpt. So like right here, I'm going to hit the top of this right here, and that comes down into like a little swirly thing right here. So I just slowly build this up to a bright highlight, and I'm just trying to keep it as loose as possible to keep it as natural as possible. And then this comes down to here, and it kind of comes down into a wave down here, and this is kind of a big soft wave, so I back off and make it a softer blend. And the nice thing about these this garage kits that paint is that it takes several coats to make it opaque. So I'm using it to my advantage and just really hitting the really high spots several times, and then I just fade it off, and then it just kind of naturally blends into everything. So I don't think I'll have to go back with a brighter highlight, because I can just build it up with this one color. And this blue, it's got a blue tint to it, so it fits very well with the base. And what I'll do is, like I mentioned before, once I'm done with kind of doing all this highlighting, I'll go back in with some more clear blue again, and just hit like the shadows and stuff, and just get everything to kind of blend in a little bit more. But again, it's hard to show you what I'm doing because I got to be in front. Focus that close? I'm not sure. Right here. I got very little paint coming out. I'm just following the shapes of the waves and the little curls and flicks of water. And I got to hit from all different directions because the way it's sculpted, I just can't hit from one direction. I got to come back in here from underneath. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So I'll zoom out real quick because I've been doing this for about, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, and it's looking pretty good. Sorry about that, air compressor kicked on again. So just kind of show you what I've done so far in the past 30, 40 minutes. Kind of did this part. Now I'm working around where the whale is. So slowly but getting there. But it's looking good. So once I'm done with all of it, I'll come back and show it to you. Alright, so I got all the highlighting done, and this looks pretty good, I think. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with my blue and just kind of hit some of the shadows again, some of the recesses, because when you do a process like this, you kind of get some overspray where you don't necessarily want it. So I'm just kind of going to go in here and just kind of rebuild up some of these shadows, and you'll still be able to see the white and everything. So this is transparent paint, and the white I use is a semi-transparent, so this will just give it a little more punch, make the blue really vibrant. I'm not going over the whole thing. I don't want to hit the highlights. I just want to kind of hit the shadows in the mid-tone areas to kind of bring back some of that definition between the blue and the white. So you can kind of tell a pretty good difference right in that area, right here, right in this area. This should go pretty quick. There's a lot of detail in this base that I didn't see before. It took me about 3 hours to do all the highlighting. Probably not in frame, but this is a hard part to get to under here, even though I have it raised. You won't see this once it's on a table anywhere anyway. But we're gonna do our best. So I'm just going in and really kind of adding some more depth to this. Just like that. So I'm going to do that to the whole thing. You know, you probably didn't see a damn thing. Was I even in focus? Probably not. Sorry. Let's try that again. Let's try it on the area on the top. Maybe you can see it better. So like right in here, doing this kind of area, you get quite a bit of overspray from the white. So I'm just going to kind of go in here and bring back some of the blue, real like kind of loose. I can go over some of the white areas if I want to kind of bring back some definition in the waves. Some areas on the factory paint are completely opaque white or gray. So I kind of did that a little bit towards the top on some of these areas. It's not completely opaque, but it's pretty close. Like up here in this kind of area where it's really splashing out. So I can go in here and just hit the shadows a little bit, like that, and bring some of that back. See, I'm going pretty quick. I want this fairly loose. I don't want this too tight. Sometimes you try to get too tight and it looks really unnatural. So I'm just going to move quickly and loosely, and this should take a few minutes, and then I'll be ready to clear coat this thing. Thank God. Okay, so I'm ready to clear coat this thing. I went in and just kind of hit the shadows again with some more blue. It looks really good. So I got a real nice vibrant deep blue with some white highlights on this, and I think that's all we're going to go for. I thought about going and hitting the bright spots again with white, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as I think it looks good. So now I need a clear coat, and I'm going to hit this with an automotive acrylic urethane 2K clear coat. 2K meaning 2-part. So you can use any kind of automotive clear coat, any brand, whatever. I get this from my local store. This is, again, Advantage brand. You may ask me where to get it. I get it from my local store. If you want to try to find out where you find this specific number, Advantage 535, try to do Google on Amazon. I'm not sure if they sell it, but a gallon of this with the hardener runs about, I want to say I spent like $65 or $70 for the gallon, so it's actually pretty inexpensive. You can buy clear coat that's like $300 a gallon, like crazy expensive stuff. This is hobby. This you know, I could use this on a car. I guess it depends on the amount of solids in the clear coat and all that fun stuff, how hard it dries, but for what we do, this is perfect. So this being a 4-to-1 ratio, I'm gonna come over here. I buy these mixing cups also at my local automotive paint supply store. PBG is a brand of paint, in case you don't know. These cups have measuring marks on the side. So we're going for a 4-to-1 ratio. So I need to find that, which is right here. This is for a 4-to-1 to 1-to-1, but I only need 4-to-1. So I'm going to mix up probably up to the 3 with clear coat. So that's the 4 part. And then I fill the cup up to the next 3 with hardener, and that gives me a 4-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to move my camera because I don't want to splash clear coat on it, but I'll show you. So in case you don't know, to pour from a gallon can like this, you pour in this direction, and they'll pour without going blub 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 blub. So I'm going to have to do this off camera because I need to get this lower. You know what, I'm just going to do, I'd rather have too much than not enough, so I'm going to mix up 4. Probably 3 good coats of clear will get me where I need. So I'm right at the 4 there. Now I'll take the hardener and then go up to the next 4, and then we'll mix it up really good. And then whenever you pour this into your gun, you want to strain it because like this hardener, the rim gets crusty, and you don't want to get any crusties in your clear coat. It's right there. So it's 4-to-1. Give that a good stir, and then we're ready to paint. I did crack my garage door open a little bit because this stuff is going to hang in the air like crazy. It's got a lot of, it's very high solids, so it's heavy and it sits in the air. So you want to make sure. Sorry, I'm over here. When you spray this, have really good ventilation or have a good mask. I've got a really good mask on right now. So you just want to mix it really thoroughly. Make sure it's all combined well. I'm going to put this in my Iwata HPTH gun. I'm going to crank the air pressure up to about 30 or 40 psi. I'm going to put 1 coat on, relatively light. It's called your tap coat. And then we'll let it, what's called flash off. Flash off means you're going to let the solvents in the clear coat evaporate. So you need to let each coat flash for 10 to 15 minutes. Now since I have my garage door open, it's going to get a little chilly in here, which means it'll take a little longer to cure. But I'll close my garage, have the heater going tonight, and then it should be good. You can force dry this stuff if you have a baking oven. You can force dry it and get it to dry in about an hour. If you have a spray booth with an oven, or I've even put stuff out in the sun on a hot day, and it just helps kick off the clear, kick it off a little bit faster, gets it to cure. Now, I had mentioned earlier before I started this that I need to let this dry for a good 18-24 hours before I do the rock on the base. Because I was going to mask it. I've decided that it'd be easier to just hand paint the rock, so I don't have to worry about it being 100% cured. It'll be cured enough to where I can handle it and move it, but sometimes if you don't let this cure enough and you go to tape it, you'll leave tape tracks in the clear coat and then you're screwed. You have to sand them out or re-clear it, so that's never fun. So I'm going to pause, get set to spray, and I'll show you how to spray this, but I probably won't videotape it. I don't want my camera in here while I'm spraying this because it's going to really hang in the air and get overspray everywhere. So once I start spraying, I'll come back. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out quite a bit here so you can see what I'm doing. But gonna go ahead and get this going. Just get my air pressure turned up a little bit. Alright, sorry about that. I turned off my air compressor earlier. Okay, so I got, obviously my air compressor is going now. Get the air PSI cranked up a little bit. So, again, I gotta put my mask on because it's pretty nasty stuff. I'm gonna put on relatively dry for the first coat, let that flash off for 10 minutes, and I'll follow it up with a wet coat. And I like to start from the bottom up. Putting on real light. I don't want to slick it out yet. This is my tack coat. This is what's going to allow me to put on wet on the next following coats. You got to get in all different directions because there's lots of nooks and crannies in this thing. I will say that the casting on the base is okay. There's actually quite a few casting imperfections, but it's a very complicated piece. So for what it is, it's pretty good. It's amazing that they're able to do this. To be honest, I don't know how they do it. I'm going to move up. I'm not going to worry about hitting the rocks because if they get some on, there's no big deal. Again, this is just a tack coat, so it's going to super light, real fast. I do have a big HVLP gun. I actually have a few of them, but since this is not a flat piece, it's actually, they wouldn't be good for this because anything that's like a high spot would get way too much clear coat on it while you try to get the low spots and you get runs and stuff. So this, I have a lot of HPTH gun. It's perfect for this because it atomizes just perfectly. The nozzle size is just perfect for this application. It's just a really good gun for this kind of thing. Okay, so that coat's pretty quick. I'm already out of clear. I got my clear coat over the side here because I don't want to accidentally knock it over when I'm moving around. And I keep the filter in the top of the container while I'm not filling it. That just keeps dust out of it. Okay. Oh, I didn't get this in here yet. Okay, so that's the tack coat. You can kind of probably see the stuff hanging in the air. I'm going to let this flash off for a good 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put on my first wet coat. And I'll try to come in a little closer and show you that because I'm going to go real slow and be real conscious about getting this on slick on the next coat. So in 10 minutes we'll come back and do that. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to put this on pretty wet. Again, working from the top, bottom up, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but at least you get to see at least the speed I'm spraying at. So let me take my glasses off. Put my mask on. And then we'll kind of start in the same spot we started last time. So there's some really deep crevices in here. I'm going to hit pretty hard. I'm going to go slower and try to slick it out. And my spray, the way I spray will be slightly different because you want to keep a wet edge. So like, I don't care if there's a dry edge in there because you're not going to see it, but anywhere I'm going to see something, I want to keep a wet edge. Meaning you don't want the spot where you stop spraying to dry, because you'll see that. It'll be subtle, but it'll be there. So I keep a wet edge. And with it being a little chilly out, it'll take, I have to be a little careful that I don't get runs, because it'll take a little longer for this to start to cure. That being said, with it chilly out, it'll level out really nicely. So there's some areas in the casting that are a little rougher than other areas. So I'll try to hit those a little harder, just so they get glossy. Like right here, there's kind of a rough spot in the casting. So I'll just hit that a little harder every time I spray, to make sure that gets nice and shiny. And I'm going to go through clear pretty quick, spraying it this slow and this wet. So I'll probably end up having to mix up more, be my guess. So I want to get this bottom edge done first, and then I'll start moving up. This one's kind of hard to keep a wet edge because it's such an odd shape. You know, when you're spraying a panel on a car, it's really easy to keep a wet edge because you're just spraying a rectangle with it. You know, a simple shape. This just has all sorts of nooks and crannies. Okay, more clear. And I'm pretty close to this. Normally I'd be further away. The reason I'm spraying so close is I'm trying to keep my overspray down to a minimum. Just because this stuff is so heavy and it's going to linger in the air for a while. And I'm going to start moving up. Hit the focus and hit the zoom. Try to keep it parallel to the surface you're spraying as much as possible. This ensures an even coverage. Overlap about 50% each pass. And I'm not going to videotape the other coats because it's the same process. It's just every time I'm just going to add another wet coat just like this. A minimum of 2 more, maybe 3 depending on how everything looks. There's a really deep crevice back here in the shelf. I'm not sure why, but there is. It's hard to get paint down in there. Okay, more clear. Yeah, I'll definitely have to mix up more clear because after I get done with this coat, I'll have pretty much used up the clear I mixed up. There's a really deep crevice in here. Kind of hit this area, but and now we'll work on the inside a little bit more. I already kind of hit this, so I'm going to do it again because I'm here. It's all through pretty quick. And my air compressor is probably going to kick on here in a second anyway. It's going to get real loud again. Okay. So there you go. It's really foggy in here, but that's how you do a wet coat. I'm going to do that 2 more times, and then we'll look at it, and it'll probably be good. So once it's all done cleared, I'll show it to you. Alright, well, I was getting ready to upload the final video of this work in progress on this piece, and I realized I accidentally deleted the footage I did of painting the rocks. So unfortunately, you won't get to see how I did that, but it's the same process I do on all other bases. Base coat, couple washes, and dry brushing. It's just more challenging because of the rocks on the back. So this is just a little follow-up on the final piece of Aquaman. He looks amazing. I've already posted photos on Facebook, so I'll add the photos to the end of this as a slideshow. But he's finally done. Over 100 hours worth of work. Tons of supplies. Who knows how much I have spent on supplies. A couple $100 easily. Yeah, he's done. My client sent me the other half of the payment, and he actually threw in a little extra as a thank you, which I truly appreciate, because this was a lot of work and was an expensive piece to paint. So I really appreciate that he recognizes that. And I've had a few clients do that for me. Kind of give me a little tip, which I truly appreciate, because it just lets me know that they appreciate the amount of effort and time that goes into something, and that it's not easy. A lot of times in my videos I say something's easy. Not just because something's easy doesn't mean it takes time. So it doesn't take time. So yeah, so Aquaman's looking really good. His hair is showing up a little red in photos. It's not red, it's blonde. I didn't use any red in his hair whatsoever. It is a little more saturated, so maybe that's why people are thinking it's red, but it's not, it's blonde. But it is on the warm side. It's not real bright. So I try to stay away from yellow. It's not yellow, so it's a little more on the orange side. So maybe that's why people are saying it's red, but it's not. Leviathan turned out fantastic. I'm trying to use my studio lights I have set up in here that I use for lighting my photos. So right now it's not the best lighting for video because it's not set up for that. Shark turned out awesome. I was getting ready to take final photos and realized I forgot to paint the water in his mouth. Like, damn it. So I went back and painted the water in his mouth. It only took a few minutes and threw it in there. It looks amazing. He looks awesome. Love the crab. Really cute. Then the orca. I had a bunch of people ask me, why is there a black patch in the top of his mouth? Like, go look at pictures of orcas. They all have them. So that was really interesting that everyone was wondering why that was there. I didn't know it was there until I started researching. Swordfish turned out really nice. If I had to do one thing different on this piece, I may, on the swordfish, may have done some metallics because they are kind of shimmery. So maybe I would have maybe like done a pearl top coat or something, but he still looks good. The seahorse I really like. I love the expression. I love the colors. So yeah, it looks really good. The base turned out really nice. It was a lot of work. Almost 2 full days of work just on the base. I thought the rocks would go quicker, but they took a long time to do because I hand painted them and they go in. There's a lot of like undercuts and stuff, and there's actually some areas where I physically couldn't get paint, and it's on the back side. I can't show you because I can't turn this thing. I initially had this on a turntable and it was so heavy the turntable wouldn't turn. So when I took photos, I took some front photos, took some close-ups. I took it all apart, turned it around, put it back all together to take a back photo. And I didn't do any, like, usually when I do photos, I do like front and I'll turn it at 15 or 20 degrees and take all angles. Not on this piece, it's just too damn big to do that. And I don't want to take it apart and put it back together 12 times, because the more times you do that, the more chance of something breaking. So he looks really good. I decided to put the chain on. I saw a photo someone had from the production piece. In the comic artwork, it like wraps around his waist and stuff and goes up the trident. But I saw someone, I don't know who it was, unfortunately, so I can't give him credit, but he had it just wrapped around the trident, so I did that, and I think it looks really good. It's a good place for it. And then this little necklace, this other necklace, it's just a chain, so I just wrapped it around his neck. I think that's what Mr. X did too. He just put it around his neck, and it's just another piece of jewelry. So yeah, so the only crits I've gotten on this piece on the photos is the color of his hair. And yeah, maybe it's not real bright blonde, but it's not red. It is maybe towards the orange side a little bit, but that's okay. But yeah, super happy. My client likes it. I've gotten a ton of response on Facebook from the photos, so I'm really happy that everyone likes it. This will get packed up this weekend, and then I will have to have FedEx come pick it up because these boxes, I couldn't even fit one of these boxes in my car. So I'll have to schedule a pickup for this to be delivered. Hopefully shipping isn't too crazy. Even though it's domestic, they're big and heavy. They'll probably go as freight, which will be a cheaper method, but he's done. And on to the next project, which will be a custom quarter scale Hulk by Gravin Labs. And so there you go. So everyone who's watched the work in progress videos, hope you learned something, and I appreciate the support. And as always, thanks for watching. This is Matt Mrozik signing off. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.